Welcome back. I was wrong about Solana. Did you ever think you would see a video like this from me? Well, in today's video, we're going to be exploring the Solana ecosystem and understanding why and what I was wrong about in the Solana ecosystem. Because if you guys have been watching my videos for any length of time, you know back in the previous cycle, I warned my viewers, telling my viewers that Solana was built by the billionaires and for the billionaires and not for everyday people like you and I. And I was very correct and accurate. Because what we saw happen with the Solana price is a clear indication of what we are seeing happening with many other cryptos in this cycle, and the dilution and the dumping that is going on in the market from the big mega whales. And will Solana see this happening again? Well, we're going to look at all the metrics. We're going to look at all the data on chain to understand why I was wrong about Solana. This is the Cryptoviser podcast. We talk about everything crypto, blockchain, and investing every single day of the year. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Give the video a free thumbs up because we upload every single day. And you guys know crypto is not free, but thumbs up are always free. So I've historically been a big, critic of Solana's ecosystem, specifically more because of how it started, right? It was IPO'd, or ICO'd, I should say, in 2019 into 2020. We had billionaires buying at a quarter, 20 cents, 50 cents. The coin launched at about 50 cents. Then we had DeFi summer and Solana summer. I'm sure many of you remember that. And we went up from about basically a dollar in the beginning of 2020, all the way up to $230. And this was before really anything was even built on Solana, before any actual integrations or connections to Solana. But now we're in a different cycle. So we can't really look at the previous cycle and say, well, Cryptoviser, I was right or wrong about that, because I've already made a video that I was wrong about Solana in the previous cycle. But then in the bear market, we saw Solana drop down to $8 low. And a lot of this was because of the FTX collapse. FTX was the main, promoter of the ecosystem, I guess you could say, and they were pumping it for the billionaires. We know this for a fact at this point. And so I was very worried that we were not going to see a lot of development or usage of this chain after the FTX debacle, and we didn't for a while. And we also had a lot of issues with the chain. The chain kept going down. The network kept going offline because there were too many transactions being processed. But that was fixed, right? The network was forced to fix these issues. And now Solana is the number 2 fastest blockchain on the planet, with Internet Computer just recently passing Solana's transaction throughput. You can see Solana's transaction throughput is between 4,000 and 6,000 transactions per second. And we saw Internet Computer surpassing that by a factor of 3, getting to about 12,000 transactions per second. But either way, there was a lot of criticism. I was a big critic of Solana continuing to go now. And I said, blockchains have one purpose, and that's to process transactions. And so if the network goes down, it can't process transactions. So it's a failure. But I've been criticized by you guys, right? By my viewers that have been saying, Cryptoviser, you were wrong about Solana. Solana was one of the best performing cryptos in this cycle, and that is true. And I did not really talk about investing in it at all. But that doesn't mean that I missed out, right? A lot of people say, well, Cryptoviser, you missed out because it went from $8 to $260, and we're now at $140. And that's true. But at the end of the day, we didn't know what the coin was going to do from a price perspective. We didn't know that the billionaires were still heavily invested in the growth of this ecosystem, but they're not as heavily invested as many people believe the billionaires are. And we saw that from the beginning of this year. What happened at the end of 2024 into 2025? The price went up to $260, all-time record highs, touching the previous all-time record highs and passing it. And there were still people who didn't take profits from $8 to $260. But why did we go this high? Well, because of meme coins. And you guys know the whole meme coin fiasco was a really bad look. And the price came down substantially, right? 60% drop. We saw the revenue decline for the validators on the network, 97% from, in 1 month, from January into February or something like that in the beginning of 2025. And so I was like, this is, again, Solana's nonsense. But at the end of the day, now we got more news, and I was like, yep, I got to make the video. I was wrong about Solana. Kazakhstan joins the crypto race with a Solana powered economic zone. Now, you heard that right. And by the way, don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up. You can also become a channel member by clicking the join button down below for as little as $1.99 a month. But anyway, Kazakhstan has taken a major leap in digital innovation by launching the first ever Solana economic zone in Central Asia. The bold move is designed to attract Web3 companies, promote tokenized finance, and accelerate the integration of advanced digital technologies in the country's economic infrastructure. The announcement was made at the Astana International Forum in 2025, where Kazakhstan officially unveiled the Solana Economic Zone. The event focused on the future-driven discussions around technology, investment, and development of Web3. A spokesperson for the Solana Foundation said, quote, "We look for people and companies and countries and really want to partner in that vision and bring the next generation of financial infrastructure and also financial opportunity to their people, to their country, and that's the type of partner we have found here." The key objectives of the Solana Economic Zone in Kazakhstan is tokenization in finance. What? I think there's supposed to be a space there. Tokenization and finance. The economic zone of Kazakhstan aims to integrate tokenized financial instruments into Kazakhstan's capital market infrastructure. Web3 innovation and education. The Ministry of Kazakhstan will partner with Solana to launch a national education program enhancing blockchain engineering skills across the country. And attracting global Web3 companies, Kazakhstan plans to provide infrastructure access, regulatory clarity, and business incentives to onboard international Web3 firms. Now, it would not be responsible to read this announcement and not think what happened with Cardano in the previous cycle, where Cardano supposedly got Ethiopia to sign on board and utilize the technology of blockchain to essentially tokenize student records, right? So did they pass this exam? Did they pass the grade? And stuff like that. We still don't know exactly what happened with that partnership. We still don't know exactly what was put on the blockchain or not put on the blockchain, or whether the blockchain was even enabled there. And we're many years beyond that at this point, obviously. But remember, that was peak market. That was top of the market that they were announcing Cardano Africa, right? And so that caused, the frenzy that we saw in the price. And potentially, we're not really even seeing any movement in the price after a country chose Solana. Now, a lot of this could be due to the fact that the billionaires are not reinvesting in this coin anymore, especially after the whole meme coin fiasco. Or it could mean that people are just a little bit cautious to understand an announcement versus implementation, because they can make an announcement and then never actually implement what they said they're going to do. So there's a big difference there. I don't think the market is realizing the how big of a thing this actually is. I think this is very, very big. No other ecosystem in crypto or blockchain has their own economic zone for advancement and development. But again, we have to take these things with caution. And I think that's what some of the billionaires are clearly doing, because we haven't seen the price reflect to the upside based on this, which could also tell us that it's still overvalued. But that doesn't take away the fact that I was wrong. Because now we're seeing Thorchain targeting Solana, Cardano, and Tron as it goes all in on adding new blockchains. And the reason I pulled this up is not because Thorchain is targeting Solana, but to show you that Solana is fully interoperated in the entire DeFi ecosystem. To a very large degree. Now, we're going to get to the tokenomics and some of the other metrics on the chain in just a few minutes here. But when we talk about interoperability, this is critical and key to the future of these ecosystems. If they're highly interoperable, like Ethereum, like Polygon, and like Solana, they're probably going to do very well because they can bridge over to get some of the liquidity, some of the users, some of the developers, some of the dApps, some of the cross-functional programs or technologies from other ecosystems. And so they don't have to be the best at everything. They just have to be the best at a few things, and they can interoperate with the other chains that are better at those other things. For instance, Hedera with tokenization, or Internet Computer with artificial intelligence or on-chain compute. By interoperating with those chains, you can enable the technology on your blockchain without actually integrating it yourself. And so, yeah, but that brings us to this, which is the tokenized shares of Solana Treasury Company DeFi Development Corporation are coming to Kraken. Kraken is now tokenizing shares of this company called DeFi Development Corporation, which you guys know if you watch my videos, just a few weeks ago we reported that DeFi Development Corporation was purchased by, it's a publicly traded company. It was purchased by some Solana developers. And effectively, they said they're going to start buying Solana, similar to what the Bitcoin treasury companies like MicroStrategy are doing. And we saw the market cap, I mean, it went really ridiculous. You can see here, we went from about 70 cents to $35. Think about that. 70 cents to $35. What is even the math on that? $35 divided by 70 cents. It's a 50x. So if you put in $10,000, you would have $500,000 in value. Incredible. Like truly, truly incredible. But either way, they're calling it DeFi Development Corporation, right? Why? Because DeFi was basically started on Solana. We had Solana Summer, DeFi Summer. It was all about Solana and all the protocols that were built on top of Solana. And that hasn't stopped. The developers and the ecosystem is still very big. Let's show you DeFi Llama. And by the way, in the previous cycle also, I was very worried about the token unlocks because the ecosystem was very new. So the investors had lockup periods that they couldn't access their coins for. Well, what we saw happen in 2021, all the coins started getting released, right? The community coins were unlocked between 2020 and 2021. The team coins, right? Early investors were unlocked from 2021 to 2023. All the funding rounds, they were unlocked in the beginning of 2021. So what did we see happening? We saw selling going on throughout 2021. And people don't realize the market sometimes goes up the same way. So if you're selling, a lot of people think the market's going to go down, but sometimes the market actually goes up through selling periods, especially if the macro is bullish. And so through 2021, all the investors were able to completely de-risk from their coins at all-time record highs, buying in at 50 cent ICO and selling at $200, $250. They did sell. They sold all their coins. That's why we saw the price go from $260 down to $8. Now, granted, we have done a round trip, but now let's look at Solana's DeFi ecosystem, because this also goes into why I was wrong about Solana. You know, in the previous cycle, I was a huge Cardano bull and I was a Solana bear. That was 100% incorrect. Yes, 100% incorrect. Because Cardano has not achieved even a fraction of what they said that they were going to achieve and set out to achieve. I don't know why DeFi Llama is taking so long. I literally clicked on this at least a minute and a half ago and it's still loading. Anyway, yeah, I mean, Cardano was clearly not the choice because Cardano doesn't have any of the capabilities or technologies that Solana has and it has had for many years. Solana is the number 2 DeFi protocol in terms of total value locked with $8 billion in TVL, second only to Ethereum with $61 billion. And so if we just look at the market caps, right, $8 billion is locked in, and the market cap of Solana, when I'm recording this video at least, is 76 billion. So they have about 12 to 15% of the market cap is in DeFi. I mean, look at Cardano down here. They still only have in the hundreds of millions, and it's gone down. And so, yeah, I was wrong in the previous cycle, and I've been wrong all the way through today, even though, you know, I'm not bullish on Cardano, and I haven't been bullish on Cardano since the bear market. But guys, Solana is definitely, they've pulled through. Granted, this cycle, they did not bring us the technologies or capabilities that I imagined we would see, because really all we got from Solana was meme coins. And so that's not exciting. That's not going to really make us any money. I mean, it made people money, but it was also for value extraction. But when we look at the underlying capabilities of Solana, And we see that Wall Street is getting in, like nobody did this for Cardano. Nobody did this for Litecoin. Nobody's doing this for Avalanche. They did it for Bitcoin and then Solana and then Ethereum. Ethereum didn't even have a treasury company. Solana had one, and now we have SharpLink, which is Joe Lubin's Ethereum treasury company. But Solana was the second crypto to have that. Even with all of the mega whales in the Cardano ecosystem, none of them did this, right? And that's also interesting from from the standpoint of, will they ever get it? And so, listen, I don't know about from an investability standpoint in this cycle that we are in currently, because you guys have to remember, we're going to get to this article in a second. You guys have to remember that, like, in my view, we are at the end stages of this bull market, right? I mean, we can see we already passed all-time record highs, double topped, and then came down. Can we go higher? Of course we can. But based on what? We went to these levels based on the meme coin fiasco, because that pumped all the metrics on the Solana dashboard. It pumped transactions, it pumped volume, it pumped revenue, it pumped usage, daily active users, revenue, every metric on Solana was pumping significantly. And combined with that, the fact that the general crypto market sentiment was extremely good towards the end of last year because of what we call the Trump pump, right? But really, you can see here that the pump started a year before that, right? We really started to move higher in 2023, not 2024. And so we've already been in a effective bull market for Solana for the last 2 years at least. And so what I'm looking for now, and again, chasing returns is always a bad strategy, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next cycle. We don't know what's going to be coming out in the next cycle, what technologies, what new blockchains, what new capabilities, and we don't know. And so it's kind of a weird game that we're playing here. Like, I'm starting to get bullish on Solana, but we're also at the end of the bull market, which is kind of like also a top indicator that I'm bullish on Solana now, but we're at the end of the bull market. And mostly I'm bullish because they got a country, right? Now people are going to say, well, it's Kazakhstan. What are they really going to do? It doesn't matter, because all these companies that are building on Solana, or that are thinking about building on Solana and the Solana ecosystem, are going to push their developers and push these companies to Kazakhstan, where they're going to have a lot of benefits to, being in the Solana economic zone, right? They want to grow the economy. They want to grow, the technological use cases in this area. And this is the same thing that we saw happening in El Salvador with Bitcoin. Granted, this did not work out the way that El Salvador thought. I mean, most people are still not using Bitcoin to transact, right? They're just not doing it. But they were able to go and test things at a nation level. And companies were able to get startups and without any like roadblocks in the way. And that is huge, especially if we're in a bear market, because as we always talk about, bear markets are for building, bull markets are for deploying. And so if they're able to build and build and build over the next few years, even maybe just a year and a half, we can get to the point where they start deploying new capabilities, new technologies, new implementations of blockchain at a government level, maybe a company level in the country, or maybe globally. And that could be very, very bullish for this ecosystem. And so, yes, I was wrong about Solana, but where do I stand today? Am I invested in Solana today? Well, generally speaking, we don't really talk about my portfolio on this channel. And most of this is because what I'm talking about on the channel has to do with the data and my analysis. This has nothing to do with my portfolio. I mean, you guys can kind of figure out likely what coins are or are not in my portfolio if I'm going to put them in. But I'm no longer talking, especially we're at the end of the bull market, where the portfolio is. My general thesis is, by the bear market, I want to own zero crypto. That way we could just start fresh, new cycle, new coins, and I'm looking for the best ecosystems with the most likely teams that can actually develop and deploy over the next few years. There's a lot of cryptos out here, guys. There's a lot of cryptos, even in the top 50. Some of them we have already talked about on this channel and in this video. Some of these top 50 coins, they are going into oblivion closer to zero. Like that's where they're headed. They're trending to zero. They may not be there right now, but they are trending in that direction because you can only hype a coin up for so long without actually delivering anything, especially when all of these other projects are delivering and they are giving what they say they're going to do. Internet computer, they said they were going to have DeFi on Bitcoin DeFi. They do. They're the only ones that do. They said they were going to have AI implementations on chain. They do. And they are continuing to expand that. Hedera, they said they're going to tokenize the world. They are. They said they were going to get stable coins. They are. Solana, they said that they were not a billionaire chain, even though they are. They are. They said that meme coins wasn't the only thing that they created, but it was. But it wasn't the only thing that brought the value to the chain. The usage of the chain did. The increase in the metrics on the chain did. And that's where the fundamentals are in all of these ecosystems. And so any of these blockchains that are telling you, oh, we're going to be doing this, this is coming out, just give us 2 more months, it's bullshit. It's absolute BS. Because look at Solana. They have just gone at 100 miles an hour and they haven't stopped. And I didn't think that they were going to make it, but I was wrong about that. I didn't think that the price would recover. I was wrong about that. But that's the beauty of investing. You don't have to be right every time. And even when you're wrong, you could still be right. Because here's the deal. If I didn't invest in Solana, and Solana did all these gains, people are going to say, Cryptoviser, you missed out, you lost. No, I didn't lose anything. I may not have made as much, but I didn't lose anything. Because here's the deal. If you invest in a coin or in a product or a company that you don't believe in, yes, they can do well, but they can also do bad. And if they do bad, you're just reinforcing that you shouldn't have bought it to begin with. And so you can never look at a missed trade as I missed it, or if you sold too early or whatever, right? Because at the end of the day, there's people who told me in the previous cycle when I sold my ADA, you're going to miss out, Cryptoviser, we're going higher. We haven't even hit those values that I sold at. And that was multiple years ago. And so you guys have to look at the market as the market is what the market is. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what we say. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. And you can take learnings from these missed trades, but you can't look at it like, damn, I missed out. Wow, I missed, because that's where you start to chase. And you start to chase cryptos that you don't even like, or stocks. Like, for instance, this video. A lot of people will watch this video and say, yeah, Cryptoviser's buying Solana now. But here's the deal, guys. That would be FOMOing. I am not FOMOing into Solana. Solana will go back below $100. Guaranteed, in my view. I could be wrong about that as well. Maybe I will be. You guys are going to say, Cryptoviser, at this point in the video, 23, 25, you were wrong. Possibly. That's definitely possible. But the way that I'm looking at it is Solana investable? At this point, I think that my viewpoint has changed, and I do think Solana is investable. But is Solana investable at this point? I don't think so just yet. But if I were to just going back to what I was just saying a few minutes ago, FOMO in and say, you know what? I've been wrong for too long about Solana. Now I need to get in on Solana. Watch, if I buy Solana now, it's going under 100, right? So we're going to wait. We're going to wait for the bear market. We're going to wait for the corrective phase. It is going to come. And the more people that tell you it's not, that should reinforce it is. Because that means that these people are trapped in their trades. That means they did FOMO into Solana at this level, right? Yeah, we're 50% down from the all-time highs, but that doesn't guarantee we're going higher. And the Kazakhstan economic zone, all the interoperability, the tokenization, the implementation of the treasury strategy and thesis, these are very bullish signals, but we're also at the peak bull market. And so these are the opportunities to look for the gems that you want to buy, but don't buy it just yet. Now, I'm not telling you what to do in your portfolio. I'm just telling you my thought process when I am looking at some of these ecosystems, when I'm looking at the Bitcoin treasury companies, MicroStrategy. While I may be bearish on MicroStrategy's price, I'm not bearish on their thesis or their strategy or what they're doing long term. And in fact, what they're doing long term is very bullish. But if we go into a corrective phase, how is the stock going to react? I think it's going to be potentially catastrophic. And what would that mean for the crypto markets? Major downside. What would that mean for Solana? Major, major downside. And remember, a lot of the billionaires that still own Solana, they bought in at 25 cents. So they don't give a shit whether they're selling at $250 or $25. They still are making a lot of money on that trade. And by the way, the people that tell you differently, the people that say no Cryptoviser, the billionaires, they actually do care about $260. They're going to wait for $260 again, Cryptoviser. You're wrong. That's bullshit. The price went down to $8 when FTX collapsed. And by the way, FTX didn't even really have access to the Solana coins at that point, right? Those were still, a lot of it was still like locked up or in other investments or stuff like that. And the price went down to $8. So what happens, like, who do you think was selling? The billionaires. And they sold it all the way down to $8 and then bid it all the way back up to $260. You don't think they'll do it again? Of course they will. But maybe that would be a great entry opportunity. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could. It definitely could. And so there's other stuff going on as well. Solana-based stablecoin to settle merchant and bank transfers instantly. So Fiserv is launching a stablecoin following the Senate passing regulations. So one of the biggest payment processors on earth is dropping their own stablecoin. It's going to the $90 billion payment giant called Fiserv announced that they're going to launch a bank-friendly stablecoin called FiUSD. According to the company, this will be a dollar-backed stablecoin built on Solana, catering specifically to banks, merchants, and financial institutions. The company's indicated that the launch will happen this year, though it hasn't given an exact date. And so they're going to be using Solana, a big financial institution. Now, this doesn't mean that it's going to be, all the banks are going to be using Solana and all this. I imagine a lot of these companies that are starting their own stable coins, they're not going to have that much volume. And the more stable coins we have, it just eats the volume from the other stable coin usage. So I don't know that this is that great, but it shows trust in the system. It shows that they view, right, not just the billionaires, but the institutions now, the banks, they view Solana as a safe blockchain to use and understand that, there is something to be said about that, in my view, from an investability standpoint. And so maybe at some point in the future, you're going to see a video that says, I bought Solana. Not yet, but I think it's coming because I am and have been turning more into a less of a bear on Solana and more of a cautious bull. And I think that it's going to be very interesting to see over the next few years what is developed and grown and how this is going to affect the rest of the ecosystem and the metrics on Solana. So let me know down below. Are you still a bull on Solana? Are you a bear on Solana? Or are you kind of neutral? And if you've ever changed your opinion on any of these crypto investments, let me know which crypto it was, which one you were bearish on or bullish on, and what changed your mind. And let me know what you think about Solana. Don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. And I'll see you when I see you crypto on.